Okay. Okay. Hello, and welcome to our Connect to Comprehension Teacher Stories. I'm Lynn Givens, and I'm the developer of the Connect to Comprehension program. Today, we're going to be talking with Faith Ivory, a C2C interventionist. She's the owner of the Golden Owl Learning Center, and she's been a public school teacher prior to that for 15 years in California and Texas. And she's going to share some of her experiences with Connect to Comprehension. So, Faith, why don't you tell us about your experiences with this program?
Awesome. Thank you. So actually, as you were speaking, I thought, I should probably talk about how I found this program and
Oh,
why.
that would be great.
So we moved to homeschooling for my children, and I decided to start looking into tutoring. And my son had finished 6th grade in middle school, public school, and I was finding that he was really struggling comprehending. And he'd been in intervention groups in elementary. We knew that reading wasn't his strength. And I'd always kind of wondered if there was a bigger problem, but the intervention groups kind of seemed to help push him along. But we got to reading literature together, and I found if he read without me, he wasn't comprehending anything. And so I started digging. And in that same time, I'd started reading about the science of reading, and it was really clicking for me because when I first started teaching, that was really the way we were teaching reading. And then it kind
Yes.
of disappeared.
Yes.
And I came upon Connect to Comprehension. And I mean, just the name of it, it was like comprehension, because that's what I was needing to help with my son with. And so then I started looking into it, and I saw that it had all of the components that need to be there for teaching reading, the phonics, the phonemic awareness, all of it, and had spirals of practicing these really important comprehension skills that can be hard for a lot of struggling readers.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so I decided to purchase it, and I went through your training videos, and I just jumped in and started with my son. We used level F, and I learned there were these holes. There were skills, there were phonics skills he hadn't been taught. He had no idea about soft C and G and hard C and G. He had no idea why they made those different sounds and how to tell what sound they were making. He didn't understand syllable parts and the different rules. He had never heard closed and open syllables. And as we started going through those things, I just kept seeing these light bulbs go on for him. But on top of that, having simpler decodable books that he could completely read himself, and we were working on that comprehension, I started seeing him begin to like cause and effect. That light bulb went off, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And one of the things we're still working on a lot is figuring out what a word means in context. And I was able to use the decodables and the vocabulary words that you've included too to help get him to understand how you use that context of the story to help figure out what that word was. And if we had been doing it in, the literature that we're reading together, it was so far above his ability level at that point.
Right.
It was just sliding over his head.
Right.
So
Right.
it really was a great success story for him.
Well, and you used it for exactly what it's supposed to be used for, because we know that it's very difficult to teach those skills to students with text that they can't decode, that aren't accessible. So you used it for exactly the purpose for which it's intended. So I'm so glad that your son had progress with this.
And then, I've opened it up to other clients. And this one other client that I've seen so much growth in the last year with, he is homeschooled. He's 9 years old, should be in 4th grade, if we did the grade levels. He is dyslexic.
Mhm.
And he came to me, really, he was not a reader. And it was last year. So he was like a 3rd grader. And he would sound out 3-letter words. And that was about it. So it was big. And we are
Yes.
just now finishing up level A. But he is so much more confident.
That's
And I mean,
wonderful.
and we've seen, I mean, and now he reads and he reads those decodables in level A, and he feels confident about himself. And he's been with homeschool in his, at home, he has been doing another program that is based on Orton Gillingham
Hmm.
with his mom. And he's starting to learn about long vowels. And so I'm so excited because we're just about to get to start level B. And I know
Perfect.
we're getting to those
That's
long
right.
vowels.
That's right.
And,
Long vowels
right
and long
now
vowels.
he's just every now and then he'll see something and he'll go, oh, is that a long, is that E silent? And so I know we're just at the perfect time to
That is
start that next
perfect.
part.
And one thing, success builds on success. And I've just found this in all my years of teaching. And once kids realize that they can learn, to read, our struggling readers, our dyslexic students, once they realize that, light bulbs start to go off all the time because then they have the confidence to be a risk taker. Whereas before that, they're afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to try because they don't think they can be successful. So having those decodable readers, is just what so many of them need. So
It's magical. And I know I've told you before on a comment that I made that I am so grateful that I have this now, but how I wish I could go back and have it in the classroom, because I was doing intervention with tier 2 kids in my room, and I was having to search for the phonics side and the phonemic awareness side
mhm.
and the sight words. And I didn't have decodables. I was having to use books that really weren't decodable. And then I started finding just decodable little short stories to buy off of Teachers Pay Teachers because
Yes,
I needed something
yes,
decodable. And I
yes.
spent so much time trying to put all these things together. And now I know, gosh, if I had just had this, it would have all been there for me.
Yeah, that's the point, is to put everything in one place so teachers don't have to go around searching. Can you talk a little bit about the written expression component of this? Is that been valuable for your son, for your current student? The fact
Yes.
that they're writing?
Yes, because both of those children and a few others that I have worked with also, writing, if you're having trouble reading, you're going to have trouble writing too.
Exactly.
It's not your favorite thing to do. And I actually, the student that I'm talking about, he actually asked me recently if we could please do the writing part at the beginning because it's his least favorite and he just wants to get it done. And I had to explain that I'm sorry, but we always do it about the story we've read. So we can't do that before we read the
Oh,
story.
that's funny.
But we keep a journal. He has a journal and we date
Uh-huh.
it every single time for each written piece that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked back because that started a conversation. Yes, writing is still not our favorite thing, but let's look back. And we looked back at the beginning and he was just amazed because he's like, I mean, at the very beginning, all we would do is write the words.
Right.
We
Right.
just the simplest of the simple. And he said to me, look at how much longer my sentences are now.
That's
I
wonderful.
said, yes, absolutely. And I do use the sentence stems for
Mm-hmm.
him still.
He still needs all of them, or
We're getting to the point where one day I asked, do you want them or not? And he said yes.
mhm.
But we're getting to where now because I have them on a whiteboard that has wheels and I turn it away from him before we start.
Mhm.
And then when it's time, I turn it towards him. And so before we turn it, I've started asking him the questions out loud and we discuss what we would answer.
Perfect.
And we've started noticing that the sentence he gives me out loud is very, very similar to the sentence stem.
Oh, that's
And he just
perfect.
has to then fill it in.
Right. That's
So
perfect.
it is,
I
it's really cool because you got to start transferring that. And I do want him to get to where he can answer in a complete sentence
Right.
about what we're reading,
Right.
because that is
Exactly.
the goal. So,
Exactly. Well,
um,
Faith, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we stop this? Okay. I really appreciate your sharing
maybe
with us.
one thing, if
Okay.
anybody is watching this and you are on the fence about this program, take it from me, it's the right thing to do. It's awesome for kids.
Thank you so much, Faith.
You're welcome.